Hey there, YouTube. My name is Alex. I wanted to sort of try out this new project here. I'm not familiar with, shooting a lot of YouTube videos and stuff like that. The ones that are on my channel already are shot just as this one is. It's a one take deal. I haven't figured out how to pause the recording on this thing. I haven't figured out how to, I don't have a video recording or video editing program anyway, to where I could cut things out and so on and so forth. So it's going to be rather bland, at least until I get a hold of that. But it's already late, and that's going to be a project for later. Um, but yeah, so you're going to hear a lot of ums and so on and so forth. Once again, I'm new to the whole deal, and anyway, let's just get started. What I wanted to cover in this video is just sort of what I plan for this to do. I basically want to kind of make a trading series from a sort of rags to riches sort of deal, just my ups and downs throughout trading. And I wanted to do this because there's a lot of people out there who are actively trading on YouTube that have thousands and thousands and thousands
Mic off.
to
Mic
actually
on.
to invest. And they're turning profits a hundred and thousands and up every day. And for the beginner, it's inspiring, but at the same time, it's also pretty daunting. Because if you're like me, you might not have a truckload of money that you can, throw into investments and actually get that. You're probably wanting to be on their level, and you're wanting to maybe make this a career, or at least make it a good secondary vehicle for income. And you'll see these people, trading in a day what you might make at your regular job in a week or a month. And then you get into it and you start investing, and maybe you make, you know, $20 off of the trade. And then you sit there and you think about just how much you need to actually get on that level. And some people, they'll just say, you know what, it's just not enough. I'm not interested in it because I'm not making money fast enough. And so for those people, I wanted to show that you can make pretty substantial amount of cash just off of trading. And as long as you have the right mindset and you stick with it, especially if you're young. I mean, if you are, 16, 17, 18, even in your 20s, that's a great time to get started. I myself am 30. I'm turning 31 this year. And I'm still learning. I did take a few months off of trading, which I shouldn't have, but I did. And I also had to take money out of my portfolio due to some expenses that came up. But that is life. Anyway, let me get started on this. Let me show you where I was. So I started with Robinhood, and I was always interested in trading ever since sixth grade. We had a teacher have us pick three stocks at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, he showed us where we were at the end of the year. So what we would have made should we had invested in those stocks. And I actually did well. I remember one of the companies that I chose was Coca-Cola, or the ticker mark KO, and it did well. And ever since then, I was hooked. But I was always a procrastinator. I was always afraid of losing money, and so on and so forth. And so I never really got into it until I was about 28 or so. And I kick myself every day for not just getting into it, because it's honestly not as scary or as difficult as I thought it would be. There are tons of YouTube videos out there, tons of YouTube channels. I recommend TechBud Solutions. They are awesome if you're looking to get into it. Tons of information there. Once again, I am sort of a novice trader, so I don't want anyone, like, if I say I'm interested in a stock or I think it's going to do well, I don't by any means want you to take that as oh yeah, it's definitely going to go well. Let me put, my entire portfolio into it. Do not do that. I might be right, I might be wrong. I am in no way an expert. Not yet, at least. Um, but I do want to sort of show people my path and how far I've gotten with it, and the strategy that I have, and how I've made some money off of it. This is just about my experience, and hopefully it can help people. Um, yeah, and what I would really like is if it would help people develop their mindset for success. I actually made an entire video about that. It was a school project thing, like a course project in DeVry that I actually made that video for. I highly recommend checking it out because once you develop the right mindset for success, the mountain that you're looking at when you're trying to climb it, how daunting it seems and how little momentum you think you're actually making, it all changes when you have that right mindset. So let me just jump into it real quick. Now, this doesn't go all the way back, but it does cover the majority of my trading that I from when I started. Now, I started a few months before this. It starts in December. Now, I chose Robinhood because it doesn't have commission fees. And at the time when I was starting, a lot of other trading platforms did have commission fees. So the reason why I had to go with that, one second.
Mic off. Mic on.
The reason I went with that is because when you're dealing with, let's say, $100, let's say that that's all you have in your portfolio, that's all you have to invest with. Even if a stock does an amazing job and it goes up by 20%, right? Let's say you get in there and it just skyrockets 20%. That's an awesome gain. And the profit that you would make on that is not that much. So that would be, what, $20? Now, if you have $10 in commission fees, now you're down to $10. And if you were to take that money out, you're paying taxes on that $10. That's making you hardly anything at all. So for anyone that's wanting to get into trading, doesn't have a lot to start out with, commission was just not an option for me. So I went with Robinhood. What I did is I saved up my emergency fund, which is something that Dave Ramsey always talks about. Also, a really good person to listen to if you want some financial advice on money management. I saved that up, and then everything I had after that was sort of play money. I could do with it whatever I wanted to do with it. And I decided to take $50, put it in my portfolio, and instantly invest it that day. Because, like I said, I was a procrastinator. I would always talk myself out of things, and I would never get started. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this $50, put it in my bank, transfer it over to Robinhood, and invest tonight before I do anything else. So before I even got out of my work clothes, before I even made myself something to eat, I went straight in and I bought myself a share. And what I did is I got GE. I think I got in at like $5, something like that, and I put the full 50 in there. So let's just say 10 shares. And it actually ended up doing quite well. A lot of people do not fare so well on their first trade. I honestly, it was a guess. I knew that GE had been around for a long time. I didn't know how to work any other trading app. All I saw was basically what this looks like. And so I just threw my money into it basically. I just blindly. And the reason I did that is because even if I lose the $50, it's play money anyway, right? Like it would have gone to probably just getting me some snacks or some drinks or a couple extra shirts, nothing that I don't really need and nothing that I couldn't easily purchase later on. So I just threw it in, just a Hail Mary. And and what that did is it put me into position to where I had to learn. I had to do it because I was already in it. It was too late to back out, and I had already decided that even if I lose that money, I'm not backing out. If it's dropping, I'm not gonna take the rest, sell it, take the rest of my money out, never touch it again. No, it's in there and it's staying in there. And so I was forced to learn. I was forced to stick with it, and I'm glad that I did. So what I would do, my job is a low-paying job. It's minimum wage, but I do get paid at the end of the day, not my full pay, but what I make. And so I would take a little fraction of that and put it in my bank, even if it's just, $5, $10, and I would invest it that night in Robinhood. And I would buy whatever I could afford to buy. I'd sell, and before you know it, you go from buying stocks that are, $5, $7 per share, and once you've sold enough, you're buying $10. Now you're buying $50. Now you're putting in, $100, and it adds up really, really quick. It adds up significantly quicker than you think it would. So in the course of about a year and a half, here's December. Does this end in? Oh, this would be this month. So where's December? What's that? December 3rd. So that was actually right at the low point of the high there. So in 1 year, I went from 400 and let's just call that $60 to 885 in 1 year. That's not a huge amount of money, but when you're starting with only $50 and only putting in 5, 10, maybe $20 a week, that's not bad. You can see the percent growth is really high. And so I'm pretty happy with that. And I did have to take some money out. That might be what I'm seeing here. I had to take some money out for some expenses. But overall, it's been a pretty good ride. Excuse me again.
Mic off. Mic on.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, so Robinhood has been a really reliable platform for me. I really enjoyed it. They have a new Robinhood card out. It basically acts as like a debit card, and basically whatever balance you have there, they'll match you by like 3%, something like that. So they've got a couple incentives,
Mic off. Mic on.
but I never went with that. But anyway, I actually ended up trading out of Robinhood to go to Thinkorswim because they got rid of their commissions. So now, even if I'm only making $20 profit, I'm really not having to worry about any loss of that. And that's why if I go to like the 1 day, you see it's just flat. I'm basically just waiting for this money to come out so that I can put it back in the bank and then move it over to TD Ameritrade. And the only reason why I did that is because sometimes I would notice that there's a difference between the pricing in Robinhood and the pricing in Thinkorswim. Now it's the end of the market, so they've probably adjusted it properly, but let's see if I can find an example. So Kara is at 1645. Let's bring that up. $16.45 is where it's at now. So it looks like they've adjusted it. I think what it is that Robinhood has a longer delay than TD Ameritrade. You'll see that TD Ameritrade, if I go to partially delayed data, you can see the stocks and stuff like that. So it's delayed 20 minutes. So essentially, what is coming out of Wall Street is going to be information that I receive 20 minutes afterwards. So there's a delay there. Now I would bet money that Robinhood has a delay that's behind that, because it would always seem that my Robinhood would either be above or below what I'm seeing in Thinkorswim. And it's probably just because Robinhood headquarters is getting the information from the stock market, from Wall Street, and then that information is then being, calculated and put onto everybody else's account, like to what we're actually seeing online. And of course, that information is going to cause a lot of bandwidth. It's going to cause a lot of uh, network usage, and that's going to create a even further delay. And because in this way, Robinhood is really acting like a third party vendor here. And maybe that's what it's considered. I don't know. I don't claim to be a genius. But anyway, that being said, moving over to TD Ameritrade, and this is what I'm probably going to be using more often, more than anything else at least. This is the Think or Swim platform. It's fantastic, and right now I've only got $40 in here. I have blocked out my account info and all that just for security purposes. Since I am putting it online, I don't really want to take any risk here. But I do want you guys just to know there's only I only put $40 in here while I'm waiting for the transfer from Robinhood. And just over the past 2 days, I made $6, and that's a swing vote. Essentially, unless you have, it was 20, I believe it's now 25,000 in your portfolio, you can't day trade. You can only day trade, I believe it's 3 times per week. Otherwise, you get in trouble with the IRS, which, I mean, obviously, yeah, that sucks because it's one of those deals where, if you have $25,000 to play around with, you probably don't really have to worry too much about money. But for anyone that's starting out, you know, you have to take your time. So like if you have $20,000 in your portfolio, oh yeah, you can play, you can have fun, you can make money every day as much as you want, but if you don't have that, sorry man, you have to play it slow. Which I find is silly because you can't lose everything you put in. Unless you're doing options trading or something like that, and I'm not even sure with options trading if that's how that if it would even work that way. But you can't run into the negative. At least if you're trading like how I've been trading, you can't. Even if I put in, let's say, if I put in $100 at what was nearly 25, right, and it dropped all the way down to here where it's at now, 16.55. I would have only lost that difference per share. I'm not going to lose the whole thing unless for whatever reason Cara Therapeutics just completely just drops all the way to zero and disappears off the map. It's not going to happen. You can't run into the negative. So I find that just infuriating that they don't allow people who are just starting out to day trade, but it is what it is. What can you do about it? Um anyway, so you can only day trade about 3 times a week, which I mean honestly it's not bad. I hardly ever day trade because of the hours I work. I generally have to be sleeping around open hour or open market times. So swing votes usually that works for me just fine. And I'll have stop losses in place so that while I'm sleeping, if my stock does start dropping, it automatically sells it off. Anyway, let me show you what I'm looking at here on this. My buddy Jordan helped me set this up, and it's set up, I think, amazing. I can see what the stock has done over the course, and you can see that it went straight from my charts right to my trade. It automatically updated it. So you can see what the stock has been doing over the past 180 days, over the past 5 days, and over the course of the day. And so that's a lot because before I was just I'd be on the chart and I'd say, okay, so this is what it looked like at the 180. Let's see what it is at the 5. Okay, let's see what it is over here. Oh, that's studies. Let's see what It is at the 20 day, okay, and there's just a lot of information, and you're trying to really, you want to see each chart because you want to see what the overall flow is, what it's been looking like, and so on and so forth. And before I was just shuffling through here, trying to just build a overall view, and it took time. But with this setup, I have all that information right here, and on top of that, I have my newsfeed, so I can see the different changes that the company's doing. Like right here, the latest news, it's going to present at Jeffrey's virtual healthcare conference. So they're going to a conference here, or they went to a conference. We could click on that, get some more information on it, and we could use that to see, like, okay, do we think that this is going to be a good move? Do we think that it went well? That was 527, and I can't quite see it here. Just out of curiosity, let's see. 27. Let's do. So it would have been somewhere around right here. And overall, yeah, it went up a bit. You can see here. Yeah. So I guess the conference went well. Anyway, but so this is the setup. This is what I use to sort of gauge what's going on. And I'll talk more about this in a later video. It's already pretty late. But I just wanted to give you guys, let you know sort of what I plan on doing with this series. I'm sorry it's such a boring video. I do plan on using my webcam here at some point. Probably not very often because, like I said, it's always late when I get home anyway, so it'll just be dark. But yeah, just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm gonna be doing and what this series will be about, what it'll cover, and hopefully we'll get to hang out. We can, feel free to comment if you're new to trading, if you need any tips. I can go over some of those. Once again, I'm not an expert. If you've got questions, there's tons of other places out there where you can get it. If you're just looking for encouragement or you want to share your stories or anything like that, feel free to comment below. I'd greatly appreciate it. Uh, and I look forward to hearing from you guys as well. Tell me what setups you have, what you're excited about, why you decided to start trading. That's something that I'd be very interested to hear. What motivated you to get into this? Tell me about your highs and your lows as far as trading goes. And yeah, let's share an experience. Let's build a little bit of a community here. Maybe we could help each other out with different tips, tricks, and so on and so forth. Different setups, different trading strategies. What do you prefer? What do you not prefer? What studies do you use? That's a really important one. I myself like the EMAs and SMAs. I also like these guys right here. Let's go ahead and zoom back out. So that I can see sort of where it's hitting its highs and where it's hitting its lows, and the volume in which we see when that's happening. I think that's really important information because you can see where it's getting too high. People are no longer buying it, or people are no longer buying it. People are no longer selling it. You can track it, and I just think that's pretty cool, and it'll help you identify the trends that you're looking at. It'll also help you sort of establish exactly where its what's known as its resistance line is. Like, for instance, right here, the resistance line is going to be somewhere in this general area, like the 1670s, because we'll see it going up and going under it, and going over it and going under it, and it's always trying to get back to that resistance line. Now, it's not a surefire, right? You can't just be like, oh yeah, it looks like it's turning up, Because right now, like if we were looking at this right here is a 180, so it's calculating all of it. But if I were to have that set to like a 5 day or something like that, we would see it swooping up. We'd think, hey, there it is. It's going above. It's still on the rise, but overall, not quite. So, here's where it is. Not quite, right? So, you can't always judge off of it. But that's the thing. I mean, studies they're hit or miss. They're calculations, they're estimations, and they're averages. They're not predictors. But anyway, we will get into that all later. And appreciate your viewing. Appreciate you tuning in. And like I said, tell me the strategies you have. Why you got into this. This is a very exciting time to be in it. Everything's kind of dropping. It's chaos in the world right now with coronavirus and the protests and so on and so forth. So the market's been going kind of haywire. But that also means that for a lot of industries, the stocks are pretty affordable right now. They're pretty low. And when everything cools down, hopefully it'll cool down and we won't all, die in some sort of apocalyptic scene. That means the stocks are going to go up at some point, which means if you're in them and you're holding them, you're looking at making a lot of money. So, yeah, just tell me about your story, guys, and thank you.